All right, so today we're going deep on Abscam. Um, this is going to be wild. Like, seriously, it sounds made up. We're talking FBI, a con man, politicians getting caught. It's all there. So to unpack this whole thing, we're going to be using an episode from the American Scandal podcast. It's called Money Talks, and it really gets into the nuts and bolts of Abscam. Okay, so just imagine this for a second. The FBI in the 1970s, they're trying to clean up their image after a bunch of scandals, right? And they're really focusing on white-collar crime. But they need someone on the inside, someone who knows how these criminals think.
Yeah, the FBI was trying to rebuild trust after some missteps, let's just say. And they knew that to tackle this kind of sophisticated crime, they needed someone who understood the game.
Enter Mel Weinberg, not your average informant. This guy was practically a legend in the criminal world, known for his front-end schemes. Basically, he'd promise people huge returns on loans and then, poof, vanish with their cash. So why was Weinberg so valuable to the FBI?
Well, a few reasons. First, his skills. He was a master manipulator, knew how to gain people's trust. Second, his connections. He had deep ties to the criminal underworld. And third, well, he was facing some serious jail time himself. So he had a lot of motivation to cooperate.
Right, he cut a deal. So picture this, right? FBI agent Myron Fuller goes to meet Weinberg in a diner. Straight-laced agent, notorious con man. Talk about an odd couple. But here's the twist. Weinberg doesn't just agree to help. He basically takes charge of the whole thing.
Yeah, he wasn't your typical informant. He dictated the terms of the deal, which shows you how much the FBI needed him.
And get this. He demands that the FBI clear his girlfriend's name, claims she was innocent, caught up in one of his scams. Now, who knows if that was true or just another one of his cons, but it adds this whole other layer to his character, right? Loyalty, maybe even a sense of justice, mixed in with all the deception and manipulation.
Definitely makes you question his motives. Was he a good guy, deep down? Or just a really good con man? Tough to say. But one thing's for sure, the FBI wasn't just looking for information from Weinberg. They wanted him to help create scenarios to catch these criminals.
And where did they cook up this plan? By the pool. Seriously, that's where they're brainstorming. Shows you how comfortable Weinberg was, even when working with the feds. So anyway, Weinberg comes up with this idea. A scam involving an Arab sheik. This sheik is looking to invest in the U.S., right? Big money, lots of opportunities.
Pretty brilliant, actually. Think about the context. The 1970s, OPEC, the oil crisis, these oil-rich sheiks were all over the news. The idea of foreign investors coming in with their petrodollars, it was both appealing and kind of scary.
Weinberg knew exactly how to play it. He would tell his targets, quote, "It's about knowing what your mark needs, convincing him it's somewhere far away in some foreign land, and that you're the only one who can give it to him." He was selling a fantasy. And people, desperate for a piece of the pie, they were all too eager to buy in. So their first target is this guy, Joe Troyo. Not just some white-collar criminal. This guy had mob ties.
Yeah, this wasn't a game anymore. We're talking about dangerous individuals, high stakes.
Weinberg goes in, wired up the special tape recorder to catch everything Troyo says. And somehow he pulls it off, gets Troyo bragging about illegal activities, basically incriminating himself on tape.
He had that con man charisma, knew how to make people feel at ease, like he was on their side.
And here's where it gets really crazy. After Troyo, word starts spreading about this Arab sheik with money to burn. Criminals are practically lining up, begging Weinberg to get them in on the action.
Things escalated quickly. What started as a targeted operation suddenly explodes.
Weinberg could have walked away at this point, right? He fulfilled his deal with the FBI, but he doesn't. He keeps going, setting up more cons. Why?
Good question. Maybe he was addicted to the thrill of the con. Maybe he wanted to redeem himself somehow. Who knows?
Whatever the reason. Weinberg dives deeper into this world. And the operation gets a name. Abscam. From their fake sheik, Kamir Abdul-Rahman.
Kitschy, right?
And that's when things take another turn. They get a lead on this guy, William Rosenberg. And it's not just white-collar crime anymore. It's about potential political corruption. Now, Weinberg personally disliked Rosenberg, which probably added fuel to the fire. But for the FBI, this was a whole new ballgame.
Higher stakes. They had to be incredibly careful,
Yeah.
especially about entrapment.
Right. They couldn't be seen as forcing people to commit crimes. There's this tense meeting. The prosecutor warns Weinberg, don't cross the line. It's this clash of two worlds. The con man who believes people are who they are, and the lawyer bound by rules and ethics.
Highlighting that ethical gray area, they were using deception to catch deceivers. Makes you think about the means and the ends.
So they're walking this tightrope, trying to catch corrupt officials without breaking the law themselves. And their next target is Angela Ericetti, the mayor of Camden, New Jersey. and a state senator. This is a powerful guy, not some small-time crook.
Yeah, they're moving up the ladder.
Set up a meeting, and Ericetti, without missing a beat, confirms he can deliver on these casino licenses thereafter. It's crazy how quickly he buys into the whole scheme.
But here's the thing. Ericetti himself doesn't talk money. He leaves that to his associates. Creating that distance, plausible deniability.
Classic tactic. His guys lay out the plan. Cash, colored envelope delivered in a parked car, like something out of a movie.
Shady dealings, backroom whispers.
And even though Ericetti doesn't touch the money himself, his associates make it very clear that other officials on the casino commission, they'll need to be taken care of.
Implying that this wasn't a one-off, but a systemic problem.
And you know what Weinberg's reaction is? He laughs. Can't believe how easy it was.
Which makes you wonder, if it was this easy to catch a mayor, what about those even higher up?
Exactly. Where does this story go from here?
Oh, it goes way higher, like way higher. Abscam is about to get really crazy. So they got the mayor, right? And the FBI starts thinking, maybe we can go after bigger fish.
Like how much bigger?
Well, they set their sights on members of Congress.
Whoa, hold on. Congressmen?
Yeah.
Seriously?
That's seriously. They're thinking, if a mayor is dirty, what about the guys in Washington?
I mean, it's a bold move. Risky. Right.
Absolutely. Huge risk. If this goes wrong, it could blow up in their faces.
Yeah.
But they were convinced that corruption was everywhere, even at the highest levels.
So how do they pull this off?
Same playbook, different stage. They set up this elaborate sting, fancy hotel in D.C. The Arab sheik is back, ready to spread the wealth.
Man, they really committed to this bit.
They had to. They needed to make it believable. These congressmen, they weren't going to fall for some small-time scam.
And it worked.
Oh, yeah, it worked. They caught some big names.
Like who?
Well, one of the most notorious was Michael Myers, a congressman from Pennsylvania.
What happened with him?
Caught on tape, plain as day, accepting a bribe. Even said, quote, "Money talks in this business, and it talks very loudly."
Oof, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, that quote became infamous. It basically summed up the whole Abscam scandal.
So they got Myers, but was it just him?
Oh no, there were others. Frank Thompson, John Murphy, Raymond Leader, all congressmen, all caught in the sting.
Did you imagine the fallout?
Oh, it was huge. A political earthquake. The public was outraged. I mean, think about it. This was right after Watergate. Trust in government was already at an all-time low. And then Abscam hits.
Yeah, like how much worse could it get?
It was a major blow to democracy. People felt betrayed, lied to.
What makes you wonder, like, who can you trust?
Exactly. The media went crazy.
Oh, yeah, I bet it was a feeding frenzy.
Trials were televised. Headlines were everywhere. Everyone was talking about Abscam.
But wasn't there some controversy, too? Like, wasn't the whole thing kind of, I don't know, morally ambiguous?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The whole issue of entrapment. The defense attorneys argued that the FBI had basically created these crimes, that they'd lured these congressmen into a trap.
So, was it entrapment? Or were these guys just corrupt?
It's a tough question. Ultimately, the jury sided with the prosecution. Most of the congressmen were found guilty, sent to prison.
Wow. So it was a win for the FBI.
Yeah, a big win. But it also sparked a national debate about the ethics of undercover operations.
Yeah, I can see both sides. Like, you want to catch corrupt officials, but you also don't want the government setting traps for people.
It's a tricky balance.
So did Abscam actually change anything?
I mean, it definitely changed the way the FBI operates.
How so?
They had to reevaluate their methods.
Makes sense.
They realized they needed stricter guidelines to prevent abuses. They had to be able to prove that the targets were already predisposed to criminal activity.
Some more checks and balances.
Exactly. But whether it actually changed the behavior of politicians, that's harder to say.
Right. Like, did it actually make them less corrupt?
Well, some people argue that it created a chilling effect, made politicians more cautious. But others say that corruption just got more sophisticated, harder to detect.
Oh, that's depressing.
Yeah, a little bit. But one thing's for sure. Abscam had a profound impact on public perception.
How so?
It eroded trust in government, fueled the cynicism that was already out there.
Yeah, like if congressmen are taking bribes, who can you trust?
Right. It made people question the whole system.
So, what's the takeaway here?
I think the biggest lesson is that we can't be complacent.
Meaning?
We can't just assume that those in power are acting in our best interests.
We have to hold them accountable.
Exactly. Demand transparency. Be vigilant against corruption.
Yeah, but did things actually change, or was it just like back to business as usual?
Well, like we said, the FBI definitely tightened up their procedures. They knew they had to avoid anything that even looked like entrapment, more oversight, clearer guidelines, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. Got to keep things above board. But what about the politicians themselves? Did any of this make them less likely to, be corrupt?
Tough to say for sure. Maybe some of them got spooked, saw what happened to those congressmen and thought twice.
Right. Nobody wants to end up in an orange jumpsuit.
Exactly. But the cynic in me says that corruption probably just evolved.
How so?
Well, instead of cash in envelopes, maybe it's campaign donations funneled through shady PACs or favors traded under the table. Harder to trace, harder to prove.
That's discouraging.
Yeah, it's a bit disheartening. But even if we can't measure the direct impact on behavior, ABS-CAM definitely had a huge impact on public perception.
How so?
It just reinforced this feeling that the system is rigged,
Yeah.
that those in power can't be trusted.
It's like that saying, power corrupts.
Exactly. And when you see something like ABS-CAM play out, it's hard not to become cynical.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if anything could really change.
Well, maybe that's the wrong question to ask.
What do you mean?
Instead of focusing on individual acts of corruption, maybe we should be looking at the system itself.
The root causes, you mean?
Exactly. Things like campaign finance laws, lobbying practices, the revolving door between government and industry.
So ABS scam was like a symptom.
Right, a symptom of a deeper problem.
But hey, at least it sparked a conversation.
Absolutely. It forced us to confront some uncomfortable truths.
And maybe that's a starting point.
It is, because we can't just sit back and accept this as the norm.
What can we do?
Well, for starters, we need to stay informed, pay attention to what's happening, hold our elected officials accountable.
Demand transparency.
Right, and be willing to speak out against corruption.
It's easy to feel powerless, though.
I get it, but think about it. If a con man like Mel Weinberg could help expose this massive scheme, then we can definitely make a difference too.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. ABS scam was wild, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it also taught us some important lessons.
It did. About the nature of power, the importance of trust, and the need for constant vigilance.
So to our listeners, stay curious, keep asking questions, and never underestimate the power of a good deep dive.
And remember, the truth is out there, sometimes in the most unexpected places.